I've had like we all have I've had a bunch of injuries, concussions, sprains. I think the worst injury was when I broke my PP about 3 years ago. I was trying to backflip a motorcycle, and because the motorcycle went up 20 feet in the air, come down, and broke its handlebars off of my PP.
We're going to do a live show on Sirius Radio. We have everything installed in the house so we could do it live here. So let's go get started.
It all started in the late 1990s when an aspiring daredevil by the name of Johnny Knoxville landed in the infamous city of Los Angeles, looking to hit the big time as either an actor or a writer. Little did he know it would mostly be his balls and his bones that were going to be hit big time when he would eventually cross paths with Spike Jonze and Jeff Tremaine to form the one and only Jackass.
How do you smell? Well, like a damn skunk. How do you think I smell?
Born in Knoxville, Tennessee on March the 11th, 1971 as Philip John Clapp, he would later become known professionally as Johnny Knoxville. In 1989, after graduating from South Young High School, Knoxville decided to move to California to try his hand at becoming an actor. Although he didn't land any big Hollywood roles, he did appear in an advert for Coors Light beer with a CGI version of John Wayne in 1999.
You thinking what I'm thinking? Beer.
It slowly dawned on Johnny that he wasn't going to get his big break as an actor, so he decided to take matters into his own hands, literally.
Did your dad teach you to do pranks when you were a kid?
Yeah, we started off with the pretty basic ones. Like, whenever a friend of his would walk into the room, I would just hit him right in the zipper as hard as I could.
He began to pitch article ideas to various magazines about testing self-defense equipment on himself in order to review the products. One magazine he approached was called Big Brother, a skateboarding magazine founded by American skateboarder Steve Rocco. At the time, Jeff Tremaine, the future producer of Jackass, was working as a writer for the publication, and Knoxville's idea caught his attention. This is where the first concept of Jackass would be tried and tested on film.
Oh, I feel like my eyes have gonorrhea. Ugh.
Tony Hawk on the program.
In the late 90s, skateboarding became hugely popular in the United States, and the crossover culture between skateboarding and musical genres became a scene in itself. Bands such as Goldfinger, NoFX, The Offspring, and The Vandals became heavily associated with skateboarding, and in 1999, Tony Hawk became a household name after landing a 900 at the X Games in San Francisco.
Are you kidding me?
This was an alternative culture just waiting to explode. This led to a series of video games called Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, which helped to spread the popularity of punk music and skateboarding throughout the United States. And one American kid that decided to take up skateboarding as well was Bam Margera. Born in Westchester, Pennsylvania in 1979, Brandon Cole Margera, affectionately known as Bam to his parents April and Phil, took up skateboarding from an early age. Bam became his nickname given to him by his father Phil. Phil would constantly watch him throwing himself into walls around the house from as early as 3 years old and called him Bam Bam. During the 90s, it became popular to film your own skateboarding videos, if you were lucky to own a video camera. Bam and his friends started to film their own videos around the streets of Westchester. However, skateboarding alone wasn't enough to satisfy Bam's lust for adrenaline, so he also started to film him and his friends performing stunts and pranks. Eventually, Bam would begin to release this footage as a film series called CKY, which stood for Camp Kill Yourself. 4 films in total would be released via various distribution companies between 1999 and the year 2002. It was during this time that Jeff Tremaine, who was already working with Johnny Knoxville at Big Brother magazine, discovered Bam Margera and his CKY film series, with Johnny Knoxville releasing the Big Brother films, where he actually tests out a taser on himself as well as pepper spray, and Bam Margera combining skateboarding with pranks. It seemed like a natural step of fate to bring the two together, which would result in the formation of Jackass. With Knoxville, Margera, Tremaine, and Spike Jonze on the same page about the direction of the collaboration, it was time to try and strike a deal with a major network and get the show on the air.
This is bullfighting for dollars. $1 bull, $1 for sissies.
Naturally, many of the group's ideas were rejected by network TV as they were simply too dangerous and reckless to show on national television.
I can't walk, but I got the money.
However, a bidding war ensued between Saturday Night Live, Comedy Central, and MTV for the rights to the show. Johnny Knoxville, Jeff Tremaine, and Spike Jonze ultimately made the decision of accepting a weekly show with MTV as the network gave the trio greater creative control, but there were still limits to what they could show.
We're campaigning in Orlando, Florida, and this is the Rube Goldberg test. Don't expect it to work.
Jackass would also bring on board Chris Pontius, Wee Man, Ryan Dunn, and Steve-O, amongst other cast members. Wee Man and Chris Pontius had already appeared in the Big Brother skateboarding videos, and Ryan Dunn was already involved with BAM for the CKY series. Little did the Jackass crew know that what started out as a reckless, immature prank show in their backyards would turn them into a global phenomenon overnight. When Jackass aired on MTV on October the 1st, 2000, the network's ratings went through the roof, with the second show drawing in one of the channel's highest ratings of all time. Jackass was a hit. Despite the initial success of the show, however, dark times were just around the corner. In just 2 years, Jackass had become so big that in 2002, members of the crew were featured on MTV Cribs.
There's nice velvet on the left, and then there's like My Getaway.
A hugely popular reality-style TV show where celebrities and rock stars showed off their Hollywood mansions. The MTV Cribs series featured big names from Ozzy Osbourne, to Snoop Dogg, and even Mariah Carey. If anything, this episode of Cribs was an interesting insight into the personal lives of the Jackass cast. Bam Margera showed off his arcade gaming room and fancy cars, while Steve-O showed off his tiny Los Angeles frat house-style apartment.
Basically, I had this camera, and we were filming...
It's a new contraption.
Shut up! I got this camera.
It seemed that Jackass was all fun and games. However, the show was about to come to an abrupt end when Johnny Knoxville and Bam Margera decided to quit the show during season 3 in 2002. MTV were imposing more and more control over what could and couldn't be aired during the show. And to top this off, other members of the Jackass crew were complaining that they were being paid next to nothing for risking their lives. It was time for Jackass to leave MTV and head for the big screen. In 2002, Johnny Knoxville and Jeff Tremaine decided to press forward with Jackass the movie using Johnny Knoxville's production company, Dick House Productions.
The golf cart crashed in the first movie, from my perspective, it looked really awful.
This essentially meant the Jackass crew could get away with pretty much anything they wanted to do on film. However, despite leaving the MTV series, the Jackass movie would be distributed via Paramount Films and also MTV Films. However, it soon became clear to all parties concerned that although the film would be a global success, the reckless stunts weren't just putting the cast in danger. Although the movie grossed over $79 million worldwide, it wouldn't be long before Jackass were hit with lawsuit after lawsuit from troubled parents blaming them for injuries sustained by their children for trying to mimic Jackass stunts. The first Jackass movie alone contained over 55 stunts. These included smashing up rental cars, being bitten by alligators, running through mouse traps, and one of the cast, Ryan Dunn, inserting a toy car into his, well, somewhere where the sun doesn't shine. Still to this day, the film remains one of the most recklessly entertaining pieces of cinema to ever hit a Hollywood screen. However, with the cast members becoming global superstars overnight, this delivered an entirely new world of problems for the Jackass crew.
On the morning of June 20th, 2011, the world lost a very special person, and we lost our brother.
Between the year 2000 and the year 2010, the Jackass films had turned the crew into rock stars, and some of them were certainly following that lifestyle. Steve-O would regularly attend Hollywood award shows and hung out with the biggest A-list celebrities on the planet, whilst Bam Margera had managed to infiltrate the rock and roll scene with his spin-off show Viva La Bam, giving him access to huge bands such as him, Cradle of Filth, the 69 Eyes, and even Slayer. Over the coming years, however, Bam and Steve-O would develop dangerous dependencies on alcohol and illegal substances, which both led to a heavily dependent addiction caused by substance abuse. Other members of the Jackass crew simply felt invincible, and who could blame them? For the past 10 years, they'd been risking their lives and, for the most part, coming out the other side relatively unharmed, save a few broken bones and the odd trip to an emergency room. Bam's addiction to alcohol, though, would begin to spiral out of control when in 2011 he received the worst phone call of his life. Bam and Ryan Dunn had been best friends from an early age, and Bam's mum April used to call Ryan her extra kid. Ryan Dunn was part of Bam's family. They'd been through everything together, and the bond they formed was unlike any other. Ryan Dunn was there at the beginning with Bam when he started to film his CKY series of skateboarding and stunts. Dunn attended the same high school as Bam, and on their first day at Westchester East High School, the pair became friends. On June the 20th, 2011, Ryan Dunn would be involved in a fatal car accident. Whilst returning from a bar in Westchester, his high-performance car veered off the road and collided with a tree. He died instantly. Shortly after, Bam received the news of his friend's passing and understandably broke down in tears. After the horrible death of their close friend Ryan Dunn, the Jackass crew would part ways. Steve-O would enter rehab, but Bam Margera would continue to slowly spiral out of control. It seemed like the end for Jackass. The last few years of the Jackass story have made it very clear who the winners in this tale are and who got left behind. With the recent announcement of Jackass Forever, which could be called a comeback film, came the startling realization that Bam Margera had completely lost all control of his life due to alcohol addiction. So much so that he was even fired from the Jackass franchise. Bam Margera entered family therapy in 2016 to try and combat his addiction. It had become all too apparent that he had simply never been able to deal with the loss of his close friend Ryan Dunn. Johnny Knoxville, on the other hand, had gone on to cameo in a wide range of films, including starring in Men in Black, where he played a two-headed space alien, and Steve-O had managed to get clean and sober and now tours the world with his stand-up comedy show. Bam Margera chose to publicly speak out against his former Jackass crewmates, saying he was being forced into sobriety or risk being completely fired, whilst Johnny Knoxville and others said they did everything they could to help Bam. Whatever the truth may be, the reality shows a broken friendship and a sad tale of heartbreak for Bam Margera. What brought joy and laughter to millions around the world has only ended in tears for some. Will Jackass really be forever? Thanks for watching. Want more? Check out one of our documentaries or top 10 facts videos right here on RAWMUSICTV.